this is Patrick Hickey Jr., and I'm the voice of the upcoming game from Shotguns with Glitters, the Padre.
And we're back again, joining the bandwagon of people talking about EA and the microtransactions today. Later in the episode, myself and Bamm actually talked about a book. Can you believe it? We had a book report, myself and Bamm talking about a book. The name of the book was The Minds Behind the Games by Patrick Hickey Jr. Awesome guy, but that's later on. Right now, myself and G. What's going on, G?
Hey, Joey. How are you today?
I'm good. I love waking up on a Saturday morning and complaining about a video game. Like, that's first world problems. Kind of like my English. I have no issue with it.
You're American. That's not first world English. That's...
What are we, third now? Like, do we get downgraded again?
Yeah, as long as you didn't learn English at Trump University.
That sounds like an online school that just collects checks and sends me a paper at the end of the semester.
I can do English, mate.
That was not an English accent, like American English accent. What was that? Like Aussie?
It was more a joke take on, some TV program Richard Hammond ran a few years back where they had viewers suggest sciencey things and then they would come on the show and try to do the sciencey thing and then say, I can do science, mate.
I gotcha. Never seen it. That sounds like a British show.
It's some British daytime TV thing. It was quite fun, actually.
Only good British show you guys that they made, like Benny Hill, Red Dwarf. That was also pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're supposed to be complaining about EA right now.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
I don't blame you. Like, this bandwagon is a little crowded. It does seem a little crowded.
Just a wee bit.
But it's understandable. Completely understandable. Microtransactions. Who likes those things besides the person at the top of the company?
I'm thinking people who, CFOs, marketing droids, that kind of thing. Chief marketing officers, CMOs. I think they enjoy them because this is something that just makes money. What was it? Grand Theft Auto. They made good money out of selling the game, but that's not where they made even a significant portion of the money. That came from microtransactions.
Yeah, I saw the timeline, like Rockstar's timeline of game development. It was like a game every year and a half. And it was like, it's like GTA, and then, we got Red Dead Redemption, and then we got this, and we got this game, and then there's another game, and all of a sudden, GTA 5 comes out, and it says, Shark Cards next. And the timeline just kind of drops off, and it's just blank. But yeah, they started making all that money off of just the tack on, and they didn't have to put all the time into the next game. However, I will say, like Rockstar, they do put some time into their games.
It is a good game, and they have servers they need to keep running, and they have running expenses just with the game.
But either way, this microtransactions, man. In Battlefront II, AAA game, $60, $80. There's probably a $100 game out there too. I don't know, like some $100 special edition or some crap. And then they want to still put microtransactions. It's like going to the casino and paying to get in.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never gone to a casino in the US, so I don't know how it is over there. But, that's incorrect. I actually have. Over here, if you go to a casino, they give you money to go in and gamble.
I can imagine certain casinos have, like most casinos have probably done some kind of promotion like that before here. You go in, like you cash in, you give them some money, they give you some chips, and you play. This is kind of like going to the front door and be like, all right, here's $100. Can I come give you more money?
You just made me think back to the time I went to Vegas. I was wondering why the plane ticket and hotel was stupidly cheap. And then on the monorail thing, they say, most people who come here spend $650 per week or something. And therefore, the hotels or the casinos subsidize the airplane and the hotels.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what it is. But, yeah, dude, like, that's, like, why we're talking about casinos. Because it is gambling, man. Microtransactions, like, the loot boxes, and how horribly entrenched the progression in Battlefront 2 seems to be. You have to gamble. You have to get lucky. I hate RNG in games. Well, I don't want to say I hate RNG, but RNG hates me.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think people like and dislike good old RNGs. It's an element of gaming that is unpredictable to some degree. It's annoying, it's frustrating when you run through the same raid for the 20th time to get some piece of loot. But in most cases, RNG is there as a result of something we do directly, such as play a mission in a game or try to solve something. There might be a randomness to a map, there might be a randomness to the drops across your Fortnite map. Those are okay, but they're not gambling. It becomes gambling the moment it's, oh, I'm not actually doing something, I'm just throwing money at something, and then I may or may not win what it is I want to win.
Yeah, like Fortnite, since you brought it up, like it does have microtransactions, but they're purely cosmetic. Like it just makes my pants look pink. It doesn't give me a better perk in the game, because that's pretty much what Star Wars Battlefront 2 has got going on. Like you open up a loot box, you get a star card. You put that star card on your character, and all of a sudden he has a new ability. Like, oh, he heals at 40 HP a second or whatever it is. Or, oh, he can jump a little bit higher. Like, when I played Call of Duty many years ago, like, you did that as you leveled. Like, oh, you got so much XP. You're level 25. You have access to another perk. Battlefront 2, like, you played 30 games. You can open a loot box. Hope you get what you wanted.
Yeah, and I think it's worth differentiating between the two scenarios, where you say, Fortnite for starters is free to play. Well, the Battle Royale is anyway. Warframe is free to play. PlanetSide 2, free to play. World of Tanks, World of Warships, Wargaming games, they are free to play. Once we put it into full price games, and once you go away from it being cosmetics, it's completely different. It's no longer even comparable, I would argue, whether it's a loot box of one sort or the other. They are now in the business of gambling with you for a benefit, not just cosmetic, but an actual value where you improve, or to get away from grind that has been artificially added to the game.
Yeah, and it does seem like they added all these roadblocks to kind of nudge. Little nudge, little throat hug from Vader saying you're not doing so well. You need to buy some crystals. Open some boxes.
Yeah, and they're not even the only ones. Take Shadow of War that came out recently. It's arguably more grindy than it needs to be to get people to buy loot boxes in the hope of winning orcs. That hopefully you'll spend money to skip the grind. And it's becoming a thing in too many games. It's just not it's not even new. That's the annoying part. But it's new that they're now doing it with full price games. It's new that it's AAA games that are doing it.
Yeah, they got Greed A, you could say. They got Greed A. It's not EA, they got Greed A. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of bad, but I said it. That's right. But no, did you see the patent that Activision had just filed for maybe a month ago or something like that? For their Call of Duty franchise, I guess is where it was going, where they actually matched people who bought the loot crates or whatever the crap it's called in their game with lower skilled players.
Yeah, I think it's the one that says to make matchmaking pair up marquee players that have specific looks or advanced looks to new players in order to encourage the new players to buy still cosmetics, but still to get them to buy stuff.
No. Call of Duty, like, there is guns in those crates, and those guns are better than the default guns. So, definitely not cosmetic. At least not the last Call of Duties. They say cosmetic only, but nope, there's fucking guns in those.
I only read through the actual abstract of the patent, so it just said, marquee players that have equipment that was interesting for new players to encourage them to spend it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, you're going to get killed by somebody 15 times in this game. You're going to get pissed off. Every time on the kill feed, it's going to tell you what gun they killed you with. And you're going to like, how do I get that gun? Google, how do I get so-and-so? How do I get the Ass Blaster 2000? And it's going to say loot box or ammo box or ammo crate, whatever the crap they refer to them as.
Yeah, I think it's just we don't have a full episode just to go into this one topic, and there's so many aspects of it to touch on. For example, Jolly, guess how many players actually spend money on, either premium currency or loot boxes? Basically, how many people do you think, percentage-wise, go in and spend money on their games after they either bought it or downloaded it for free to play?
Are we talking about like DLC, like buying DLC, or are we talking about like the
Microtransactions. Let's leave DLC out of it because that's changing.
Gotcha? Because it kind of seems like same, like they get lumped together somewhat when people are talking about those games. Out of 100 people, I would say 5 to 10.
2%. So out of 100, 2 people.
Is there? I'm guessing there's some kind of like cutoff where they don't count people.
Well, here's the fun part. And oddly enough, if you go back 20 years, 15 years, spam email had about a 2% success rate. Game developers talk about something called a conversion rate. And that means how many players can they convert, usually from a non-paying player, a free-to-play player, to a paying one. That's why they call it a conversion rate. And if a game is good, if a game manages well, it's about 2% every month. So if you have 100,000 players, that means about 2,000 people spent money on it that month. Wargaming reportedly have managed to hit 10% with World of Tanks. Although they haven't said so, that's just reports.
I would imagine so. That's one game that I could see most... No, you can't say most if it's only 10%, but a lot of people putting money back into the game throughout its lifetime. I'm just having a moment where I'm like, I know the phrase is a horrible thing to be called, but oh well. And I'm thinking back, like all the games, like the free-to-play games I play, like if I really enjoy them, I put money into them. It was Fortnite. I enjoyed the game. Like I've had hundreds and hundreds of hours, like thousands of kills and stuff. It was free, but I still put $60 into it. And I'm having a moment where I'm like, when the dude looks at his skull and stuff on his shirt, on the uniform, he's like, oh, are we the baddies? I'm having a moment like, am I the whale? What considers whale in games nowadays?
Well, I think whales definitely exist. Grit knows these ones. Star Citizen?
Be like hundreds, I guess.
Yeah, there might be. Take Star Citizen. They have definitely whales. There are people who put thousands of dollars into the game, and it's not even out yet.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen some of the prices of those ships, and wow. Just say something bad happens, that game goes under, there's gonna be like suicide hotline on that subreddit for Star Citizen. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm with you in if the game is good, throw something at it, particularly free to play. I'm not afraid to say I spent money on Dust. Good old Dust 514. I actually threw money at them because I've enjoyed the game and I played it enough that I think I should give something back.
Yeah, I definitely put some money in Dust. Like any free-to-play game that I've enjoyed, like I'm kind of saying, hey, good job, buddy. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, I put out the game I like. So here's some money.
But at the same time, I think it was the Irish comedian Darryl Brain who said, well, I've already unlocked the content. I unlocked the content on regular games the moment I handed over my credit card in the store. I don't need to do more to unlock content. And that also goes with these, do you really need to pay? No, you can just grind the hell out of it for 2,500 hours and you will unlock the content that you want. That seems excessive if they push it to that point where you have to spend hundreds and thousands of hours to unlock the content when you already paid. What was the one on Reddit? $80?
I'm thinking the dude was complaining because he spent like $80 on the special edition that he bought. I don't know how many special editions there was, but there was probably a dozen of them. And then, yeah, he said he couldn't play as Vader because it was still locked.
I didn't see him say what he bought. He said he spent $80 and he absolutely expected to have Vader. But is there any out there that says any offers from EA? Spend $80 on this box and you get a Vader.
No, the loot boxes are all RNG. So it's like you go up to the slot machine, you put your mom and daddy's credit card in there, you pull the arm, and you hope you get Luke.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And I kind of want to touch a little bit on it, because in that piece, it was just, oh no, we want Vader, we want this, we deserve this content. And you do if you paid full price for the game. But yeah, Vader is the best example. He's in various forms in 6 of the movies. I don't even know how many they're up to, 8 now? And at some point, yeah, isn't he endgame content? Isn't that something you're supposed to, I don't want to say grind, but something to work towards, something that's supposed to be exceptional, something not every player should be sporting day 1 or day 2 of the game? Shouldn't there be some kind of progression where eventually you say, look, I have Vader, I have done something big, not 2,000 hours, but I don't know, games that I've enjoyed, I put in at least 100 hours. If Vader is locked behind 100 hours of gameplay, I could perhaps be okay with it, as long as there's other content during those 100 hours, because he seems like he should be endgame content.
No, it makes sense that you would say in-game content, like, but still, like, $80. But I mean, that could have been like he spent $80 on stupid loot crates, and he didn't get enough credits to unlock the guy. He didn't get enough crafting material or whatever the crap they call it in this game.
But that's not shown anywhere in that shitstorm on Reddit. I'm not saying the shitstorm is wrong. I'm just saying at no point did I see a justification for the $80 equals Vader. I mean, and that's the headline. I paid $80, where's my Vader? Or I didn't get Vader or something. He's equating his $80 to Vader. I didn't see anybody justifying that. If you want to have a shitstorm, go right ahead. It's a justified one when it comes to loot crates, microtransactions, and EA bilking the players. But if you want to put an argument forward like that, defend it and clarify precisely why does $80 equate Vader.
I gotta go back. I said something about a slot machine, like they are known as one-armed bandits, and I said Luke instead of Vader. I don't know how I fucked that up. Like, it just makes more sense if you said Vader. Like a whole arm slashy thing.
Oh yeah, but Luke also only has one arm. They both get his arm chopped off. It's a family thing.
Just passes along. So yeah, the slot machine thing works completely perfect in this situation. But yeah, it's just the stupid loot crates in this game, they're tied way too much to the progression. The good news is EA they got the phone call from the Disney CEO, and it was like, yo, whoa, with the Star Wars, like, you don't turn into the Empire. We know you're EA, but you're not that EA. Like, you're not the Empire. They got greedy.
No, that's Disney.
Well, yeah. Well, Disney, they got Pixar and everything, man. They just got they throw money at stuff. They're allowed at the moment until they start making some bad decisions. Kind of like this exclusive deal with EA for the Star Wars games, which sucks.
I saw a clip you sent me, Angry Joe, saying, oh yeah, we're winning, it's helping, and people come out and saying, oh, they're canceling it, the microtransaction for at least the beginning. No.
Yeah, it's temporary.
This is no way of victory. They will go back, they will add in the microtransactions, they will try to build again, and that's just how they behave. And I brought up that 2% success rate, approximate. You know, bad games have a lot less. Games that don't succeed well with this have a lot lower rate of microtransaction. I would expect this one to be the 1 to 2%.
Yeah, it looks good. I've seen the videos of the game. The gameplay looks fun. Like, I've heard the storyline itself is pretty bad, but I mean, it's Star Wars. The fans of Star Wars have obviously given a pass to some storylines in the past. You know what I mean?
I've so far seen 7 Star Wars movies, and not one of them had a good story. So, I think Star Wars fans expect it to be shitty, or they just don't care.
But you get to play as Vader. Well, you... Whoops. You don't... Maybe not get to play as Vader, but, I mean, you can fly the Millennium Falcon. You can drive around. It's like... You get to do all this Star Wars stuff. So, people are going to give it a pass on that alone.
So, it's pretty, and it's nice, and it seems to play well. I tried the demo thingy.
But yeah, the loot boxes are temporary. They will definitely be back. Like, you got Christmas shopping coming up. There's no way they want to lose out on those initial sales. So they're going to come back, and as they put them, they're integral to their accelerated progression system.
Yeah, but the point what I want to get to is if 98% don't buy them, they're still a success. If how many downloads? 600 and something thousand downloads on that comment, right?
Yeah, the downvotes because the comment for the Vader thread that EA customer service or whatever put up was like, oh, it's to give you a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking Vader, which makes sense, makes total complete sense. It was like 675,000 downvotes.
Okay, so here's a statement from me. The game has to hit 2.5 million sales to be successful. That's 2 million would probably around the point where they expect to break even 2 and a bit million sales. 600,000 people deciding to not buy microtransactions will not affect the success rate of their microtransaction ploy at all. They will be the 98%. There will be enough people. Remember, 2% of 2 million is still not a lot, but it's a lot of money for them. It's going to be enough to carry the microtransactions.
Okay, I gotcha. But alright, so just say 2 million subs is what you're going for. Say, alright, I know all these people weren't like entrenched in the Battlefront II subreddit because the thread actually did hit all, so a lot of people downvoted that normally wouldn't even pay attention to the game itself, or just PC and console gamers who are saying screw you EA with the microtransactions. Just say those 675,000 people were going to be part of the 2 million people who bought the game. Say they don't buy the game, you lose half of the people buying your game to begin with.
No, because I will pretty much guarantee you, and we can go out and check, we can ask Reddits, if anybody want to answer over there, of those 600 and something thousand people, I will guarantee you at most 10,000 has cancelled the pre-order.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, it probably was not the 600 and something thousand people. Like, all those people didn't. Most of them probably didn't even plan on buying the game to begin with. They're probably just like residual people from other subreddits who saw it and like, well, I'm throwing my hat in this too, so my game doesn't turn out the way that game turned out.
Yeah, or I will guarantee a lot of them were Star Wars fans who are gonna buy the game no matter what. Hence, when I say, at least 2 million is their target, 10,000 cancelled pre-orders is less than 1%.
Yeah, I mean, it's you definitely have to show them with your wallet. Like, a downvote isn't going to do jack.
Yeah, it's not gonna help. There won't be enough people saying no. There won't be enough people not buying microtransactions. There won't be enough people cancelling pre-orders. Even though there's enough that they pay attention to it, it won't be enough that it'll hurt them. It will be a nuisance, an annoyance. It will be something to bring up on a weekly meeting internally, something, it's probably enough, as you say, Disney calling them up and saying, you guys are kind of messing with our franchise now.
There's some bad PR. Like, can we not have bad PR before a game launches? Like, you want to chill out until after the game launches?
Well, they got a movie coming out, don't they?
Probably, man. There's been so many spin-off Star Wars movies announced. I don't know when they're actually coming out.
This is where we need Drac. This is his area.
Yeah, we need the nerd phone. Call a nerd phone. Where's Drac?
This will not push it. I like the sentiment. I'm agreeing there should not be this kind of microtransaction loot boxes in full price games. There should not be loot boxes that contains power-ups. There should not be a way of buying actual power-ups, these star cards. And at the same time, I'm agreeing with EA on the sentiment. Some content should be harder to reach than others, particularly endgame content. In a Star Wars universe, that's Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, yeah, did I mention him? Leia? These are, and should be at some level, endgame characters. These should be the thing you work towards. You can get Mace Windu early on, unlock him.
What if they made everyone play with Jar Jar until they unlocked higher up stuff?
That could be the piracy protection. Like, if you have a pirated copy, or if you get caught cheating, you now can only play with either Jar Jar or Boss Nass.
I have no clue who that second person was. I watched Star Wars a little bit, but
That's the mayor thingy. That's the fat one.
what about It's a Trap? What about that guy? Can we beat him? It's a trap. It's a trap meme.
That's General Akbar.
Yeah, I don't know the names. I'm not even gonna act like I do. I just like good games, and the game looks good, looks beautiful, but I can't do the gambling thing. Like, I'm horrible with money as it is. And EA, they know people out there like me, and they want to take advantage of me, and I'm not going down like that. No.
Yeah, we might have to come back to that one because the whole loot box versus gambling thing is a topic that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we do that in a couple of weeks, maybe a week.
So do we have any conclusion on this now? Do we know where we stand? As I said, I'm with both the gamblers, the players, but also a little bit with EA, and I think the whole situation is stupid and EA should have known better.
I think it hopefully shows developers that, like, any kind of random chance stuff should not be with your progression. It shouldn't be tied to progression. Cosmetics, sure, but like progression in your game itself, it's just a lazy way of prolonging your game. Like, just put the content out there and let people play it, not put the content out there and then hide it in a shell and tell me to pick which one, but don't even let me pick which one. Just let me flip a coin which one gets opened.
Yeah, don't really have anything else to say than I'm gonna go play Warframe because they do it correctly.
I see what you did there. I may play some Fortnite where the microtransactions are cosmetic only, and I look fabulous with my flamingo pickaxe.
If anybody is sitting there, having listened through all of this, just waiting for the book review, the minds behind the games, then, you know, if you want to push things in the correct direction, buy a different game. Buy a game that doesn't contain loot boxes. Buy a game that doesn't have microtransactions. Play some of the free-to-plays who do it correctly. Just, you know... And, if you have games that you think do it correctly, leave a comment somewhere. Write to us, post to the website or to the YouTubes. Tell us, what do you think? Where do you think the games are that do this right and which games do it wrong?
But indeed, I believe that's all we have on this topic here, because we're already like half an hour in. And we could go longer, but it just turned into rambling. So I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and go straight into the interview from here, G?
It turned into rambling 10 minutes ago. 20 minutes ago.
I know.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Hickey, Jr., Editor-in-Chief of ReviewFix.com, staff writer at Old School Gamer magazine, author, father, husband, gamer.
Happy days, guys. Welcome back. For those of you that are still tuned in, and my dog is barking at the right time. I love him to pieces, really do. Jolly's joined us, guys. He is the favoritist YouTuber since ever's. Jolly, say hi.
I disagree 100%, because Bamm is the bestest ever. And today's episode, we're going to go over a book and a Kickstarter near the end, I do believe, from an individual named Patrick Hickey, Jr. The name of the book is The Minds Behind the Games. And I'm thinking Patrick's here. What's going on, man?
I'm here, man. I didn't know if that was my cue to talk. Happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We're glad you could make it. How's it going over there on the East Coast?
It's pretty good. It's starting to get a little cold. It's getting dark early. It's like perfect writing weather.
I heard perfect napping weather.
Well, yeah, that too.
I've got to agree with Johnny there. Sounds like the perfect napping weather. Hang on, you said you're on the East Coast. Whereabouts on the East Coast, if you don't mind me asking?
New York City.
Ah, right. So you're on the Big Apple then, they say, yeah?
That's what they say.
Right. I happen to know there's a restaurant chain in New York, and it's called, they at least they serve something called a burgerito. Have you tried this burgerito?
No, I haven't, but now I want to.
Dude, seriously, it's a burger in a burrito. It includes the chips, your guac, your tomatoes, your lettuce, everything you want in a burrito. Seriously, Google that shit, find it, and go get yourself one. Melt in your mouth deliciousness right there. Got to try one.
Sounds like a plan, man.
So, listen, Patrick, dude, we've brought you along for a book, right? Now, we tend to be a little indie developer gaming podcast, right? We tend to interview the old indie guys, and we have a few steadfast listeners. Thank you very much, by the way. We're switching media completely, and mediums. A book. People are scratching their heads. Please, tell me, the idiot, why I need to go read your book, Minds Behind the Games.
Well, Well, the thing is, it suits perfectly your podcast when you think about it, because it takes you inside the development process of 36 games, and some are cult, some are classic, some are indie. It's kind of like a VH1 behind the music of 36 games from the Atari 2600 to the PlayStation 4. So that's the reason why you should read it.
I'm rather curious, like, what got you into wanting to go deeper into these games?
I grew up playing video games my entire life. So when I got old enough and I started to go to college, I started to write about video games, and I got my associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees in journalism. And I went on to work for NBC for a spell for a couple of years, and I had covered games like The Last of Us, God of War Ascension, Guitar Hero, a bunch of WWE games, a bunch of EA Sports games. So I've always been working in the video game industry in terms of like reviewing things, and I love writing reviews, but I'm much more interested in interviewing developers and kind of finding out like what like guided them in the development process. So it just got to the point where, you know, I was 33, my wife was pregnant, and I wanted to write a book before my daughter was born, just so, you know, your life changes a lot after you have a kid, and I wanted to be able to have a daughter like know that her dad wrote a book and that I was able to write about something that I loved. So I just went out and I started contacting as many developers as possible, and then it just built from there. And the book is basically like a celebration of all the games that I played as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult. And I really love the indie game scene, so I featured a couple really cool indie games in there as well.
Yeah, I was curious how you actually decided what games to go for. Was it like just spam all these developers you could think of, or like were these the ones that you enjoyed when you were young and now still, obviously still young? I'm not saying you're old.
Nah, that's okay. You could say that I'm old. I'm 34 now and I feel pretty old, so you can say that all you want. I would say that it started off first with, I wanted to get some big name games, so that's where you got like Yar's Revenge and NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat and stuff. There was a lot of games that affected me as a kid, like Boy and His Blob and Road Rash and things like that were great games that people had just forgotten about. And I do interviews with developers daily. So there was no shortage of games that could have gotten into this book. So what I tried to do is get like, it was originally only going to be like 20 or 25 of the best stories. And then I just kept getting such good stuff, and then people started getting back to me. So I ended up making the book a lot bigger than I had originally expected.
That's always good to hear, but I do have to disagree. You can never forget about Road Rash. Never.
I was going to say that as well. You must obviously be living in a different planet to me, because Road Rash, I think people still play it and play it well. Actually, I think there are still games out there citing Road Rash as, you know, their inspiration for making their games.
I'm happy that you said that. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable here. It's like we're doing a tournament on the Facebook page for the site, and we're having like a tournament to crown the best game in the book, and you'd be so surprised people have not played like Road Rash and Deus Ex and some of these classic games. The fact that you guys kind of connected with me on that means a lot, and that means like the book is right up your alley.
Dude, I'm already voting on the Atari. Was it Atari? ET. There we go. I'm voting that one. Best game ever. That's my game. Vote there. Best game ever.
Well, it's already been eliminated a couple of weeks ago.
That sounds about right.
I've actually got that game. I know, seriously. I've actually got that game. I've actually got that game, and it's not with me. My grandmother has it because it was a console my grandmother bought, and I was to play it when I was there. And I remember playing ET, and I never understood that game. It was just I want to say it's use the moniker bad game, but I think it was very misguided in what a game should be. So there we go. I'll say that. I'm trying to be kind.
You could say it had its pitfalls.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying there? See what I'm saying?
Pitfall was a good game.
I see what you
Pitfall
did
was a
there.
good
Very
game,
nice.
yes. No, I like your wordplay there, Jolly. Good. Patrick, the burning question I'd like to ask you, my good man, is video games is its own media. People like to pick up a controller, use a mouse and keyboard, visualize the experience, Your media is quite literally black and white and text-driven. There are some text-based games out there, but what are you doing to convert people from new media to, quite literally, mate, Victorian, old steam train media? There's quite a large gap. Are there many pictures in this book?
Yes, there's over 75 pictures in the book. But the thing that makes this book unique is that it's particularly driven by the narrative of the developer that's featured. So it would have been super easy for me to tell all these guys' stories and not interview them, to just go online and see what else had been written and stuff. But I have original interviews with all of these guys, and their quotes, their words are what pretty much guide the story. So you're getting a never before heard, never before seen, never before read look at the game from the point of view of the developer. It's like Game of Sutra, like the postmortems, but like of games that never had an opportunity to really tell a postmortem.
Hence the title, the minds behind the games. You actually get to see what's actually ticking away in these people's minds on how the developer made the game.
Of all the games that you said you sent out emails and talked to a bunch of people, like, is there any that you really wanted, but it just didn't work out?
So there were two people that should have been in the book, but then it didn't quite work out. So one was Alan McNeil, who did Berserk, which is a fantastic game in the arcade and on the Atari 2600. Do you guys remember that game?
Sadly, no. I played a lot of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs when I was in the arcade. Loved that game. Love that game. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, man. Loved it.
I'm drawing a blank currently, but I will Google, because I'm horrible with names, just to see the picture. And if I see the artwork, then I can tell for sure.
So it's a really cool game. It's basically like it's a shooter. It's a third-person shooter. And you're basically killing robots, and you can't touch the walls because they'll electrify you. Two people have actually died playing the game in the 80s.
I would have been screwed, so no, it's definitely a game I did not play.
So the thing is, I wanted to interview this guy because this was the hot game in the arcades before Pac-Man came out, you know? So it's like once Pac-Man came out, like everyone kind of forgot about Berserk, and the developer confirmed the interview. I sent him questions and stuff like that, and I was looking to follow up, and he just kind of like disappeared off the face of the earth. The other one was Centipede, and I wanted Donna Bailey because she was one of the only women working at Atari during the early 80s, and I thought that would have been great. I ended up getting two female developers anyway, but she was my first choice for a female developer, and then she is recently retired. A bunch of people have told me that she's working on a memoir, so she didn't want to kind of spill the beans to me about like her career when she was going to do it herself. So away from that, I pretty much got everybody else that had agreed.
Very nice. I mean, it completely makes sense that she wanted to do it, but yeah.
I got an interesting email from Nintendo about Pokemon. They sent me like a 70-page PDF with like more facts about Pokemon than I could have ever asked for. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I love the series, and I wanted to feature it in the book. If this was any other type of book that wasn't driven solely by the narrative, I could have featured it. Like I had enough information just from what they sent me, but they would not give me an interview. So that was one. And then I wanted to interview the creator of Tetris, and they told me that if I mentioned the game in the book that it would be illegal for me to do so because there's like a movie coming out based on Tetris. Pretty wacky stuff. But away from that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. Most of these guys were all of these guys were super cool to deal with, and they kind of demanded the best out of me. Yet at the same time, they were very happy to speak to me about their project. So, exchanging emails with people like David Crane and Gary Kitchen and having them tell me that they're talking about me and the book and that they're excited, like, meant the world to me. So it's fantastic.
Holy shit, dude. You're dropping some serious names here, man. Wow. Listen, tell me, dude, was it just yourself getting this all together, or was it your girlfriend, your daughter to an extent? Yeah, was there anyone else helping you get, your foot in the door to these developers? Is it just a one-man team for yourself? One-man band?
Absolutely a one-man band. My wife was 5 months pregnant when I started writing this book, and she would come home from work and she'd be exhausted. So she'd go to sleep and relax, and I'd be up by myself. So I'd just start sending pitches out, and I'd be banging out the chapters, writing them and stuff. This was a complete work of love. I was literally I'm a college professor. I'm the assistant director of the journalism program at Kingsborough Community College in Brooklyn. I have a full-time job. I run an entertainment website, reviewfix.com, on the side. It's kind of like my baby. And I was writing hockey at the time. I was covering the New York Islanders. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I want to do this book. And I did this book on top of all of that other stuff. I never stopped writing for all the other places. And I would dedicate anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day to write this book. And it was one of the coolest experiences of my life, getting to speak to all of these amazing developers. If I would have just gotten the opportunity to speak to David Crane and Gary Kitchen, it would have been worth it. But then you add in Howard Scott Warshaw and Eric Holmes and Dan Geisler and Jane Jensen and Michael Menheim and all these cool people. It was amazing.
Oh, just bathe me with all these name drops, dude. Just bathe me with them. Oh, it's just raining names. Right. So dude, you've mentioned yourself. You got like a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in journalism. You are quite well connected when it comes to the review scene. You do websites. You write for a few papers. Tell me a bit more about yourself, please.
Yeah, so it all started out when I was going to community college. I became the editor in chief of my college paper. Nobody wanted to be the editor in chief. I took over, and then I started trying to get big interviews. I started interviewing, baseball players and hockey players and professional wrestlers. That's actually the subject of my next book that I just started working on like a month ago. And then I started writing video game companies and telling them to send us games to review. And Atlas and a bunch of other places started to respond, and they started to send us games. So then when I went to my next college, I called up Atlas and I'm like, all right, I'm at another college. Start sending me games here. And they did. So when I got my bachelor's, I decided to start ReviewFix.com, and then I started building relationships with those companies. And then when I was at NBC, a lot of the companies that didn't want to get back to me because my site was too small, according to them, were thrilled that I was at NBC. So then I started covering like Sonic Lost World, Guitar Hero, all the EA sports games, all the 2K sports games, The Last of Us, God of War Ascension. So being at NBC really helped me build my portfolio. I was a national video games writer for Examiner for quite some time. I write for Old School Gamer magazine right now. And like I said, I interview indie developers literally every day. So I'm completely vested in the indie scene and the video game scene.
And you've come to our little corner of the internet to talk to us about your book. Ah, wow. Wow.
I just don't understand how, man. Like, how much coffee do you drink is what I'm wondering. Like, you're down an overachiever.
It's crazy, man, because it's like we haven't even gotten to the cool part yet, the voiceover stuff for the Padre, because I've interviewed a lot of voice actors too, and when I found out about the Padre thing, I started rereading all those old interviews, and I'm like, shit, I can't drink coffee anymore. So I stopped drinking coffee when my wife and I were trying to have a little one, because I read some stuff about the caffeine not being good for your swimmers. So I was kind of used to not drinking coffee. But then I've completely cut it out since I started doing the voice acting. So it's just, it's all me all the time. And as far as overachieving, like I am, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the term straight edge. I've never drank and I've never smoked my entire life. So like responsibility is kind of like my drug. I love doing stuff. I love being able to add as many like feathers to my cap as possible.
No, it makes complete sense. Like, this is all you. A lot of self-restraint is going on over there. You got me beat, is all I can say. I had to have some coffee in the morning.
I won't lie there, Jolly. I got to have me some coffee, maybe a few beers as well during the week as well. But I think the phrase Patrick is looking for, not necessarily straight edge, it's called a teetotaler, as in tea and that's it. No coffee, no booze, no cigarettes, no nothing. So I think he's pure as a teetotaler can be.
And just a lot of Twinkies on the side.
Nothing wrong with Twinkies, man.
That's something Bamm knows about. That is something Bamm knows about.
Twinkies go way back, bro. Way back. So, Patrick, you jumped ahead a little bit, my man, and you mentioned you did some voice acting for the video game guys For the video game, we actually did a bit of a chat with Padre. Please, dude, tell me, how did you get the role of voice acting for that game?
It's such a wild story because it's like I'm on Twitter a lot. Like I think I have like over 70,000 tweets. I'm just constantly retweeting and tweeting articles, and I have a bot on the site that tweets old articles on the site. And I came across one of the animated GIFs or GIFs, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and of the Padre, and it was like a tree attacking somebody, and I'm like, this looks really cool. So being the overachiever that I am, or just like I have, cojones, as my Hispanic friends say, and I just emailed them, messaged them on Twitter, and I'm like, listen, let's do an interview. And I think I was the first person to ever ask them for an interview. And we did a Q&A through email, and came out really good, posted it on the site, and then they asked me if I wanted to play the alpha of the game. So I'm like, sure. So I started playing it, and I realized after a couple of minutes that English wasn't their first language. So being a journalism and English professor, I offered my editing services. I'm like, listen, if you guys want me to, I think the gameplay is great. I love the atmosphere. I love the way it feels. If you want me to go through all of your dialogue, if you want me to go through all the cutscenes, all that stuff, and edit it, I am completely down for that. So we discussed like, what it would take to retain my services. And after that, I mean, we just started talking, Benz and I, every day on Facebook and talking about the game. And he's a great guy. And I totally fell in love with this game. And I was super happy just to be involved that way, editing press releases, Kickstarter and stuff like that. And I remember one morning, Bence messages me and he's like, yeah, we're kind of in a pickle that our voice actor left. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I could help you find somebody. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm like, I think I could do the voice. And they're like, all right, so send us a recording. And the guy that did the voice before was really good, but it was very radio friendly. And I just felt like, they're doing a survival horror game. It's got to be a little bit darker. It's got to have some bass in it. So I did the video. I did the audio. I mean, I recorded some stuff. I sent it over, and they totally loved it. And holy shit, all of a sudden, I went from spending 12 years reviewing games and interviewing developers to actually being like the star of a game. It's you can't write this stuff.
Yeah, you saw an opportunity and you took it, which is, I didn't know that's the story behind how you got involved with it, and it's pretty nice that you actually tried it out.
Having spoken to Benz and Balls, right, I had a lot of fun talking to the guys. You're right, their first language is not English, so it's not the best. But let me tell you, it's not the worst either. I've met a lot of people out there with worse language skills. Yes. Much, yes.
Oh, I agree. And I love Benson and I send voice messages back and forth. I totally understand him. I just tell him all the time, he gets excited and he speaks fast, and then sometimes you can't understand him. But when he speaks slow and he's focused, he sounds great, So, but in terms of speaking and writing, they're kind of two different things. So it's at first I was their secret weapon, on the side, just editing and stuff. But now it's I feel like I'm kind of front and center, I'm doing their Kickstarter videos. I did a developer stream yesterday. I'm completely thrilled at how involved I am in this entire project. I would never think that a stupid voice that I do would become something so different,
That's very, very good to know. These guys have actually given you the opportunity to switch gears a bit, but I want to bring it back into your book a little bit more. Will your book be available on other platforms? And when I say platforms, I'm not talking about PS4, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Mac or Linux. I'm talking about, will it be available on, say, iTunes or Audible or Google Play? So people can actually listen to it.
That's a great question. As of right now, I know it's just going to be available digitally and in old school book form. The Audible is something that I didn't even think of before, but it's I've already got another role confirmed. A week ago, I started speaking to somebody that I had done some beta testing for, and he heard the Padre, and he was like, "Holy shit! You're actually really good at this." And I'm like, okay, thank you. And he was like, oh, what about you? Could you do a voice like this for my game? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's a completely different voice, but I can totally do it. So the thought of an Audible or something else like that, I don't think that's out of the question. I don't think that I'm the person to answer it. I think my publisher is, but it's something that I would definitely want to speak to about with my publisher.
Do it. Seriously, do it. Get it on Audible, get it on Google Books, or whatever you have to do to get out there. So it's also going to be available on Amazon Books, did you say?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's available. I forgot what UK seller is selling it. It's available in Sweden. It's available in Germany. I do a Google search once a week or so, and I keep finding all of these extra sellers picking up the book. It's available for pre-order right now, and there's easily away from Amazon and Barnes & Noble, there's another 20 places that are carrying it too, which is pretty nuts.
Have we actually asked when it's coming out?
No, you haven't, but it should be out first quarter of 2018. They just finished editing the entire book, and it's in production right now. So it's pretty awesome. How many people get to say that they have a book coming out and are starring in a game that's coming out roughly the same time? Next year, this time is going to be insane.
My very next question, Jolly. My very next question. When is the book due to release? Well done, mate. Well done.
I mean, you got me curious. I'm like, well, when is the next coming out?
Hang on. This is where it starts getting a bit funny. I swear, G has sent Patrick deliberately to yourself and me right? Because Patrick is a journalist. He's a bachelor in all sorts of Englishness, right? There's two things. And he's been in a video game, right? I swear, G's tormenting us, Jolly, to one, read books, and two, learn more English.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm American. I know English pretty well.
I'd like to say I'm not English, but I'm a South African, and I think I know my England pretty well too. But obviously, G doesn't think so.
I kind of got the same thing going on. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. You know, us poor third worlders, Jolly. You know, can't live up to the first world Europeans. You know.
Well, I was curious, like who was taking the pictures for the book, so I wanted to mention that.
Crack on.
So the pictures are it's box art, it's screenshots, it's pictures that were sent to me by the team. So it's like Maniac Mansion. Those guys sent me like a picture of the original console team. It's like super old and grainy and stuff like that. The Night Trap guys sent me a picture of like the computer that they used to develop the game. So there's a couple of really cool pictures in there. There's headshots of the developers and things like that. Like there's a picture of Howard Scott Warshaw holding up Yar's Revenge and E.T. There's a lot of really cool shots in there. So it's a combination of a whole bunch of things.
It's probably be the publisher and all this stuff. That's probably what you go with. I'm picturing like a big, huge coffee table book. Since you got all this like nostalgia, is this a normal size book or like this huge coffee table kind of thing going on?
So I originally imagined like a coffee table book because one of the books that inspired this one was the 100 Greatest Console Games, 1977 to 1987, and that was written by Brett Weiss, who actually wrote the foreword to this book. And I pitched that coffee table book idea to McFarland, and they said that they would work with me, but they wanted something that was roughly 75,000 words. So the coffee table book idea went completely out the window. So there's going to be a lot of pictures, but it's going to be a beefy ass book. So the book is roughly 100,000 words.
Nah, fair enough. It makes complete sense. It's somewhat of a shame, but I don't have very many books at my house, but that would look good on my table. That's all I'm saying.
If you consider yourself like a fan of video games and the medium, this is like the one book that you should own. I mean, there are some great video game books out there, like by Brett Weiss, by Leonard Herman, and things like that. And I'm being biased because I wrote this one, but this is the only video game book that is driven by the narrative of all of these developers. Like there's a lot of books that are research based and are citing information from other people or like lists and things like that. This is like a complete work of journalism, and it's guided by the words of these developers. There's nothing else like it out there right now.
Now you see, this is very true. There's a lot of books written about video games that one, try and force a narrative, two, are solely research based, and three, are meant to hurt the industry. And if I won't lie, Patrick, I have not read this book. It's not out yet, so I can't read it. But if this book, if and it's done during, done by a journalist for a journalist, blah blah blah. But if this book holds true to what you're saying, I actually might go pick it up and read it.
That takes Bamm a lot to say. He's talking about actually reading the book.
Yep. Me gonna learn them words.
Thank you.
There's a little bit of something for everyone. So I know, like Jolly said before, that he likes that coffee table feel. And I just want to say, though, even though it isn't a coffee table book, it's not structured in a way where you have to read it from front to back. I mean, that's the goal. I would love for you to read it from front to back, but it's like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, like you want to know about, Doom on the Game Boy Advance and Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam. You could just read those chapters. It's
my apologies, but each chapter is a different game, correct?
Absolutely. So, it's like it bounces around. I tried to keep them in some type of like interesting order. Like I had the sports games more towards the back, and I saved the Wasteland for the last chapter because Fallout's one of my favorite games of all time. But like it's the comic book inspired games are in the middle, and like the Genesis games and like third party like licensed games are kind of like next to each other. The indie games are next to each other, so it's like there's a bit of a flow to it. But if you don't want to read it that way, then you don't have to.
No, I'm completely with you. I like the idea of it. Like just be able to I'm going to read a couple of chapters a night, and I'm just going to later on flip to a different couple of chapters. Eventually get it all read.
Absolutely. And like I said, this was just so much fun for me. Getting to speak to all these people, and then like some of them, it's like I had to really wait a long time for some of the answers, and for some of them, like they were going through personal things that like made them taking the time out for me that much more important. Just where I was in my life at the time, like I got answers back from Mike Scupa, who did Bully on the PlayStation 2, like as my wife was in labor in the hospital, and it's like showing Mark Turmel, who did NBA Jam, pictures of my daughter after she was born, and then him telling me, what to watch out for because he has kids that are older, like just stuff like that. One of the developers is actually working on a Commodore 64 ROM right now, and she hasn't made a game in quite some time. So it's like I like to think that I played a part in that because we were just talking about her game for so long, and she was just talking about how much she missed it. So this has just been such a fun time, and I cannot wait for people to like connect with all of these games all over again.
Yeah, it sounds like you've rekindled some old fires, and maybe after people read it, kindle some new ones, I guess.
A new way to connect with nostalgia. Perhaps maybe Nintendo should hire you for something.
We'll see. I mean, I'm under the impression that one can never have enough jobs, and especially if you have a young kid. I mean, if I had to work 3 more jobs to make sure that she has the life that she needs, I'm totally down for that. So if I can continue to write books and make money, and then be the emotional satisfaction that comes from doing something like this is worth so much more than money. But like if I can continue to like do stuff like this and have it play a role in her being taken care of for the rest of her life, then I'm totally down for that. And I'm totally down to do anything that's like connected to this. If you guys want to find out more information about the book, you can go to facebook.com/the minds behind the games. Whenever I am involved in a new podcast or a new speaking engagement, I always throw up information on there. I'm going to be speaking. The next like big speaking engagement I have is in February, which is a bit of a ways away, but it's at the Aviator, which is this big like sports and recreational place in Brooklyn, New York, and they're going to have their first retro game expo. I'm going to be speaking there. So that'll be cool. Leonard Herman, who's another fantastic video game author, he's going to be presenting a panel there as well. Trying to think of what else. You can go to my website, reviewfix.com. Every day we've got video games, comic books, music, professional wrestling coverage. You can go to thepadregame.com.
Or you can go to thepadregame.com to find out more information about The Padre, the finest voxel 3D isometric horror adventure you could ever play.
He is somewhat the complete opposite of me. He is a Yankee living up in New York.
He's the Yankee.
Yes, we're on the opposite sides of that word.
Right, Jolly. As G or Drac is not here, the duty of care falls onto you, sir. Could you please fulfill G's contractual requirement under subsection 3, reference A? Please, mate. Thank you.
It's not like we have contracts, bro. It's going to be an interesting, like, every time I know the answer, I always have to be the one asking this question. And the question is, what is your favorite kind of beer? Even though earlier in the interview, I recall a phrase that was used, and I know the answer to this. Favorite kind of beer and favorite bacon, like meal with bacon on it.
Okay, so in terms of beer, like I said, I don't drink non-alcoholic beer is a different story, though. I have had plenty of those on occasion. Beck's makes a pretty good non-alcoholic beer. O'Doul's is like okay too. But in terms of bacon, I was at a wedding about 2 years ago, and the people that were getting married loved breakfast. They would eat like breakfast for dinner all the time and shit. So at the end of the wedding, they had this big, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. They had this big breakfast like spread. It was huge, like literally like 20 feet of breakfast, like sausage, eggs, bacon, the whole 9 yards. And they had dessert at the same time. So one of my friends was a bit inebriated. So he decided to dip the bacon in the chocolate fondue. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's just like, it's good. And he's just like destroys this bacon. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. And I stick the bacon in the chocolate, and I'm telling you, bacon and eggs, bacon and whatever is great, but bacon in chocolate fondue, yeah, that's the best.
I won't lie, right? That is probably the first time I've ever heard of someone saying, right, Bamm, yeah, bacon eggs is okay. It's mediocre. It's plebeian. Bacon fondue's where it's at, bro. Go get yourself some of that. Damn, I'm gonna go try me some of that.
I'm honestly surprised Bamm is still here. I was surprised I didn't hear a door shut behind him real quick in the car, or the minivan, I should say nowadays, right, Bamm? The minivan zooming off. to the
Yeah,
store.
thanks, Jolly. Cheers, you dig. Thanks, Jolly. Yeah, I know.
A little bit inside thing there.
Yeah,
Bamm
thanks,
is also
bro.
a recent father, so the minivan is coming to play.
Yeah. Thanks, Jolly. Thanks for ruining my day, dude. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, love you too, Jolly. Love you too.
But that does sound like a very American answer. I got some bacon. I'm going to stick it in the chocolate. I like it.
It's amazing.
Well, this is the first time the South and the North agreed on something. Guys, that is it. Patrick, thank you very much for joining us. Your book discussion on... actually, my book report to G will be complete now that I've had a chat with you. Guys, my name is Bamm Havoc. Thank you very much for listening.
And this was Jolly Roger. I'll catch you later.